Welcome to Cattle Sense, your weekly podcast. I'm your host, Penny Bowie. I'm fired up to round up some real cattlemen today, the kind who know how to talk some bull. But first, hit that subscribe button and share so we can grow our herd of viewers together. Let's begin. I have so many questions for the experts. Our topic is Bull Buying 101, tips for choosing the perfect sire. Our guest panel today is Derek Frenzel with Forage, Lauren Lyssy with Lyssy Beefmasters, Lorenzo Lasater with Isa Beefmasters, Colson Cannon with Cannon Cattle. Hey guys.
Morning. How are you, Penny?
How you doing?
You all share something in common that many breeders never venture into, establishing a bull sale. And for some of you, multiple sales each year. I'd love to hear the brief story of what inspired each of you to start a bull sale, knowing it takes years to establish one.
So mine was easy. It wasn't a startup. My dad had started it back in the 80s. I think they sold like 26 bulls the first year, and it was in conjunction with a Red Brangus outfit. So after that, they broke off. The Beefmaster bulls outsold them. They didn't want to do it again. And so he went off and did his own test, and it was strictly a forage test in the beginning. The cattle were sold directly off grass. As time evolved in competing with other sales and other breeds and so forth, it turned into to having a gain test along with it. So your data, the bulls hit their full potential, and in the scan data, it's different and looks better. And you can evaluate their full performance as well on that. So evolving forward, we've now had 3 bull sales, one in Oklahoma, one in Texas, one in Florida. And this fall will be our 73rd bull sale combined.
Wow.
Most of the easy work is over with now for me, but because he did all the legwork in the beginning.
What about you, Lauren?
We started selling bulls private treaty here at the ranch for a good many years. We were involved with some other cooperative bull programs and kind of just outgrew ourselves, saw the demand for our genetics. I actually co-founded the Premium Power Bull Sale that we put on annually every first Friday of November every year. Kind of based our bull sale on performance-driven genetics. We test and do feed testing as well on the C-lock system, and just kind of seeing where the industry was going in the future, and got together, and our two minds have kind of wandered down the same trail. And so we decided to put a bull sale together, and for both of our programs and some other cooperative guys that are with us. So that's what kind of started it all for us.
How about you, Lorenzo?
Well, I'm kind of like Derek. The sale dates back to my parents. They had their first sale in 1974. This fall, we have a sale first Saturday every October. This fall will be our 63rd bull sale. We had 2 a year for a period of years, so it's not 63rd annual, just 63rd. And I think we're up to somewhere around 18,000 bulls between the sales, and then we sell private treaty in the spring, kind of 2 different markets that like to buy 2 different ways. So that's sort of the history of the sale.
That's cool. How about you, Colson?
Lauren covered most of it, but we just had a strong demand for bulls and had the opportunity to come together with a group of like-minded individuals and have a sale, and the rest is history.
Well, I have to say, you're the one from Florida, and the other 3 are from Texas. So just kind of put location where everybody's located at. Since you all have experience in raising, conditioning, and marketing bulls, I'm sure you receive calls from breeders throughout the year or around sale time who are looking for their next herd sire or sires. They likely ask you many questions. I've prepared 3 scenarios to see how you would respond to these inquiries. Let's have an open discussion. My first question is, imagine a beginning breeder with 5 to 30 cows, including some heifers that run together. Is ready to buy a bull for the first time after leasing one. What questions would you ask him to guide him in his bull selection? Let's start with you again, Derek.
I guess the first question I'd have is, or does he plan on being a registered breeder or a commercial breeder? Because that would affect the quality of bull that he needs to buy and the use of AI and so forth with a smaller number of cattle like that. The second question I'd ask, because he is running his heifers and his cows together more than likely, is, at what age is he calving his heifers? Because that'll dictate on the calving ease that we need to look at on his bull. Unfortunately, there's very few bulls that are low birth weight and high growth that you can use on both heifers and cows. So it's going to kind of restrict him on what he's wanting to do. So I think that's going to be the two main questions that I would ask first to see where he wants to be, what direction he needs to be going, and how he's going to utilize his bulls on his heifers, because that's going to play a big determining factor on it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Lauren, how about you?
First, we'll probably start with kind of goals in mind for his operation. Kind of like what Derek said, he's going to be a seed stock guy or more of a commercial inbreeder, and then try to figure out what his marketing strategies are for his calves that when they hit the ground. Is he going to retain them to develop them to sell them as weanlings or yearlings, or go on to keep his females if he's a seed stock breeder and market them at what age? And then kind of go into, he's running his cows and heifers together, what kind of fits his, his goals and birth weights and stuff like that, and cavities come into mind, and just try to get an overall goal to where we want him, where he wants himself to be, and try to find the genetics that best suit that.
Okay. How about you, Lorenzo?
Well, I would echo everything they said, and I guess maybe one little different spin on it is I would ask them their budget. So in our sale, we rank the bulls in roughly descending order of quality and sell them in that order, so a person can kind of find their zone when it's going to hit their budget. So we'll have people that are buying at a $3,500 budget and people that are buying at a $30,000 budget. So they're not necessarily in competition or waiting over each other. So again, if the guy comes and says, I want to spend $5,000 on one really good bull, I can kind of slot it into the period of time in the sale that'll fit his budget.
Okay. How about you, Colson?
Well, obviously everything that everyone else said, calving ease and all that, what their goals are, commercial purebred. Big nowadays is, horned or polled, red or black. A lot of guys only looking for polled bulls, and that, that'll limit down half the sale offering right there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, let's go to our next question. Now let's consider a rancher with 40 to 75 cows who keeps his heifers and cows separated. He currently owns 2 bulls, a 6-year-old purchase bull and a 3-year-old bull that he has raised himself. He's looking to buy a bull at your next sale and ask for your honest opinion on which bull he should replace. The younger bull within her genetics or the older bull without cross genetics? What would you suggest?
On this market, I would tell them to sell both. The older bull has a cash out value of $3,500. I'd take it and go buy a young bull, and just basically reestablish the youth. I guess, as a bull seller, I'm a little biased, but I'm really against people keeping bulls. They can't put the level of effort and R&D and genetic effort in it that a registered breeder who's really got a program can. And so, just not cutting your best steer and turning them out with the cows is really not a very good genetic strategy. So I would cash them both in on this great market to buy 2 good bulls.
Being a registered guy, I'd look at what bull's doing, the job for him, or if he needs to get rid of both bulls to keep progressing, or is there one bull doing a better job than the other? And then we look at whatever's doing the inferior job, would go ahead and replace him, and then walk through some genetics. And coming from the stock side of things, commercially, I kind of agree with Lorenzo, keeping the freshest, most current out there to keep progressing, to keep driving that benchmark and adding pounds and coming to weaning and things like that. So it kind of all depends what his goals are, and if each one of those bulls are reaching it, and start looking that way and making improvements.
Typically, it's a red flag when somebody says that they've kept their own bull. That tells me that their budget is not as high as what it should be to go out and purchase one, and they've elected to keep one in herd. Our bulls have sold for more money across the board in the breed, probably more than what they're worth for several years now, and it's got a few of these guys thinking that they can save a few dollars to go raise their own bull. In reality, I don't think it's going to help them in the long term. I would probably tell the guy to keep his older bull, breed him to his older cows, and then try to upgrade his younger bull and get rid of him if it's keep the better genetics.
Okay. How about you, Colson?
Well, that 6-year-old, I mean, he should have a lot of heifers back in the herd. So, I mean, might be time to move on from him, depending on how many heifers you kept, if you kept any. The 3-year-old, obviously, it's a registered guy with a 3-year-old that he raised. It could be a good bull, could not, hard to know. It's a commercial guy off crossbred cow. It's, probably pretty unlikely that bull's going to do the job he needs. But, maybe keep the 6-year-old a couple more years, get some more heifers off of him, replace the 3-year-old,
Okay. Now, I got to ask you a question, Colson. Being in Florida, I had a guy tell me one time that there's 64,000 mosquitoes on a cow a day in South Florida. How old of bulls do y'all normally keep down there in South Florida?
I mean, they're keeping them till they're done breeding. And I mean, it's that simple. With especially as high as bull prices are to replace them, that I mean, there's a lot of older bulls out there breeding that are kind of surprise you on the older end. If they're going out there and still working, they're.
And I was at a ranch the other day in Florida, and the guy said, "Yeah, that bull's like 7, 8 years old." And I looked at his brand. I said, "Dude, that one is 12 years old." I said, "That's the problem with our Beefmaster bulls. They're lasting too long down there, and they're not having to come back soon enough." An Angus bull, he'll last 5, 6 years down in that country, and ours are just going on forever.
As a producer wraps up calving season, begins to prepare for breeding season, when is the ideal time for him to assess his bull requirements and set goals for his herd?
Kind of from the seed stock perspective, like here at the house, so calving season starts 1st of September, so we'll start assessing, our bull power by, around that time. We're getting calves on the ground. Like this past year, we bred a new little bull we purchased a year and a half ago, so we're just getting his calves on the ground. I mean, we're watching those things as they grow throughout. Of course, weaning time, I think a lot of people's where they start really hard looking at bull power place. If they got a single sire set of cows where they know they look at a whole set of calves and see if that sire compares to the rest of them, things in that order. We'll pull bulls and get bull tested, and some of our seed stock will go off to collection, and because we sell a lot of semen and market international. But kind of the whole year, we start watching those calves grow from the time around to weaning to yearling, and kind of we know the fall, October, bull sale season's coming up. So we'll try to make the plans post weaning, look at bulls, evaluate them. If we need to get a new bull, what needs to be replaced, we'll go ahead and get him and start looking. And from a seed stock perspective, we're always looking for the next herd bull here at our operation. And I'm sure there's some others that are like that, because you never know when a great young bull pop up to be gobbled up by some seed stock guys to try to get the genetic edge and get ahead. So I think it's kind of all year round as their genetics progress and grow, and evaluate them against their contemporaries and peers, and whatever the lowest bull on the totem pole is kind of what gets cut and played.
Yeah, I mean, I like to sell those older bulls when they come off the cows that last season. I don't want to hang on to them any longer. There's a chance of them getting hurt, hurting another bull, dying. There's various things that can happen. And my thought process is that last season, when they're aged out, go ahead and haul them off as soon as possible. Take your money and get ready for the next bull buying season with it. Kind of start planning ahead. Luckily, there's plenty of bull sales in the spring and the fall to choose from that it fits most anybody's needs, and they can either buy them, get ready to turn them out right away, or they can buy them, take them home acclimated for 6 months, depending on what they feel works for their operation.
Yeah, I mean, on the commercial side of it, I mean, the sooner they know, the better to know what numbers they got to replace, and who tested bad and who's still good. So I mean, on their end, as soon as they pull bulls, get them semen tested, just so they know what they got to replace. On the seed stock end of it, I'm always looking for a good bull. If there's one to have, I mean, I'd like to have him if he's better than what I got. It's kind of that simple. But on the commercial end of it, I mean, the sooner the better, and they always got to have 10% extra just because something's going to happen to bulls.
There's definitely two different strategies for registered and commercial. Registered people ought to be thinking about it all the time, evaluating calves, evaluating available sires. doing your own R&D. On the commercial side, the classic mistake I see people make is they test their bulls 2 weeks before they're going to go out, and then they're in a panic. They need, they're short 2 or 3 bulls, whatever it is, and they have to get them on the fly. And really, all that you've got to pre-plan a little bit. Give yourself a little bit of time because stuff's going to happen unexpectedly, and just always give yourself time and plan ahead.
All right, let's move on. As the saying goes, a bull is half your herd. Do you believe that to be true?
No, I mean, if they're keeping replacements, I'd have to argue that it's probably more than 50% of their herd. Obviously, they'll get half their calf crop will, be from the sire and half from the dam. But if they're going to keep any of those females, then that's where it really pays off to buy from a program that's selecting for fertility and good udders and so forth to help keep those replacement females.
I would just echo that in a slightly different way. A cow can have 1 calf a year. A bull can have 50 or more calves a year. So the bull has a great deal more impact.
Right, and especially if you can consider AI and selling semen on the seed stock side. I mean, he could have an impact over the whole breed, depending if he's a hot new bull. I mean, we've seen that come on strong the last year and a half now of setting records selling semen at highest prices we've ever seen before. From a commercial, there's bulls with commercial semen out there so I think they can have a lot more impact than what just half your herd or 50% of what you value it as.
Yeah, if you're saving replacement females on the commercial side, I mean it's more than 50% for sure. You got them heifers coming back in your program, and they're making up your cow herd. So it's definitely more than 50% on the bull.
Yeah, I like all those answers. What health checks or certificates should a bull have before being transferred to its new owner or getting on, their ranch, their property?
I would go definitely for sure a breeding soundness exam performed by your local veterinarian. And with today's times, I would sure have a strict test on them. There's some state requirements as if they're a virgin bull, you don't really have to, but it's just my knowing that a clean bill of health coming in and a clean bill of health going out, both peace of mind on buyer and seller.
Okay. Temperament. How can you assess a bull demeanor before purchase?
I think one of the key things, assuming you can be there in person, is just to spend time with the cattle before the sale. Assuming you're going to buy them at auction. When you get in the pens with them, you can tell pretty quick whether their temperament is a suit for how you operate. Even if you're buying online and can't be there in person, the video can tell you a lot about a bull, and it's always hard because they get stirred up through that process and everything. But you can check off the ones that maybe you're a little too fiery. You can see the ones that have a casual attitude about being put under pressure. So I think either way, it's pretty important that you assess them vis-a-vis your own operation, because my idea of a wild bull and somebody else's might be completely different. So I think it's a kind of a personal decision.
Nowadays with videos and everything, you get ahead of time. You can go through on the video and you can kind of tell who's on the gentle end, who's not. It's not a perfect method, but you're there on sale day, you can get a good idea, and you go talk to your sale managers, and them sale managers, they should be straight up with you. They know them bulls as good as anybody. They'll tell you this one's gentle, this one's not. And some people don't mind them if they're a little fiery. Some people do. So you just talk to your sale managers or the owner of the bull. They should give you a good indication of what they are.
What key traits should a cattleman prioritize when buying a bull for the first time?
I guess it all depends on your goals of your program is where we start. From the seed stock perspective of, we'll look at some phenotype. If that bull catches our eye from a marketing perspective, just because he's a good looking bull, and we'll roll into some performance data, birth weight, weaning data. We bought a bull back in 2018 from Derek there at one of his bull sales, and we knew everything about his sire side and his dam side because we owned a 3/4 sister to his mother, and we knew the guy that raised his sire, so we kind of a lot of predictability there wrapped up in his pedigree, and that's kind of gone on to match of what his performance record's shown us and what his lineage has told us over the years. So we'll go look at that.
I would say, again, talking in terms of a bull sale, the data is a little overwhelming. We've got over 50 data points in our catalog, and so especially a new person comes in, they're like, how do you make sense of all this? I don't understand all this stuff. And so one thing we've done is developed our ESA index, which kind of synthesizes some of those data points, the things we think are most important in terms of beef cattle production, into one number that they can focus on. And everybody's got something different. They may be focused on calving ease, they might be focused on carcass quality. The key is, and I always try and help them do this, is to keep things in balance. Like if you just focus on either of those things, you're going to mess something up. So it's impossible to synthesize all the information that all the bull sellers put before you, but you can establish some balance. In other words, because in the end, you've got to keep your cow herd in balance. It's real easy just to select for growth all the time, but there's a lot more to beef cattle production than just growth.
You can look at all the numbers you want and phenotype and pedigree, everything, but if they're not sound and cover their tracks and go out and breed cows, it really don't matter other than that. I mean, they got to be structurally sound and they got to be able to cover the country. So, I mean, that's critical. Don't matter who their parents are. If they can't get out there and do it, don't matter how high he weaned, he ain't going to much help.
Do most cattlemen fully understand the importance of performance data and record keeping? I'm just curious if today's cattleman is, on the ball of understanding performance and the importance of it.
I think, as Lorenzo said, all of our bull cells have probably more data than what they need. I think they're, relying on us as producers to be doing the right things. They all like to come in and see the high weaning weight or the weaning weight ratio or the EPD or the carcass, whatever, they think fits their program the best. But I think the reality is they're going to go to the programs that they rely on to be doing the groundwork for their operation to take them to the next level.
I would say the modern bull buyer is very sophisticated. And again, with over 50 data points, they don't necessarily understand all of those, but they know what they need and know what they want. We're not talking about the first time bull buyer, but the people that, buy 5 or 10 bulls a year, they really know well what they're doing. And those kind of guys really look at the program behind the sale as well. And that's a big thing, I think, for the more concerning buyers is the structure of the program behind it, length of breeding season, the age of breeder heifers, those kinds of things. The discerning bull buyer is demanding that their seed stock producers do at least the same thing they are, and all the blue chip commercial buyers are putting the pedal to the metal as far as genetic selection for fertility goes.
What are the common misconceptions new buyers have when selecting a bull?
They believe that they're supposed to last forever and be fault free. It just doesn't happen that way. Their animals are not perfect. We're not perfect breeders. You're not going to find the perfect bull anywhere. That's for sure.
To what extent should a bull buyer be familiar with the technology and resources available online today?
Well, I would say it's a big investment, right? I mean, and it's a serious business. If you're dealing in any numbers of cattle, there's a lot of risk. There's a lot of capital required. I think it's in their interest to read up, study, and learn on the research, the things that are available. All these bull sellers here and everywhere else are putting a lot of effort into research and development, into genetics. And, that in order to properly capitalize on that and get the most out of your investment, you need to be paying attention to what they're doing and why.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, we got a tool there in one of our subcatalogs and you don't fully understand it. I mean, I think from a buyer's perspective, just go to your sales manager, breeders, and even if you don't know 100% about it, just ask. And because we've invested all this time and effort into it, we've got a pretty good grasp on everything and know how we work, because we wouldn't be putting that data out there if we're confident in it. And that's kind of one of the big deals we see is we have a lot of questions about how we come up with our dollar premium, our power premium deal on our side, and what's all going into it and how we rank that. And from a buyer's perspective, you just got a little question or just don't really understand it 100%. We all try to put bull buyer guides and, just try to explain it as best as we can. And sometimes our bull selling language ain't to the buyer's language, and just go ahead and ask and get it cleared up before you go ahead and start making decisions and purchases.
Yeah, I think Lauren's exactly right. It's about asking the breeders what type of bulls would fit their cattle and their program what their end game is. I tell people all the time that are going to go put a Beefmaster bull on a set of red Angus or Angus cows. Don't buy one that looks like an Angus. Step out of your comfort zone a little bit, get a little more bone on them, a little more leather on them, and you'll be surprised at the pop that those calves will have.
I agree with that too. I mean, these sale managers, they're around these bulls regular. I mean, if anyone knows them, it's going to be them. There's no reason not to trust them. You go out there and, hey, which bull you think will do this particular trait for me? And they'll give you, here's 10, 20 bulls that'll do it for you. And there you can go pick out of that group. And so.
Are you finding that most breeders that come to y'all sale, they've already did their research and pretty much know what bull they want when they get there?
I do not, particularly in the case of breeding. You say breeders, I assume you mean registered breeders, and they typically are going to study them. Our bulls are available all day Friday for viewing, and then Saturday morning up until the sale. And they are typically in those pens the whole time because it's a very important decision for them. So I don't see very many people that come with their mind made up. If it's a commercial purchase and they're buying on a budget, that's all they can do is what falls their way. But I think the registered people really put a lot of effort into it.
I mean, from our perspective, if we're going to head to a bull sale on a seed stock deal, we've kind of done all of our homework. We just kind of want to be discreet, so don't lead no tips off of what we're fixing to do. But we've done our homework all the way up, before we head to the bull sale, and then we've also got to some bull sales and through bulls and found something we really liked and saw something somebody didn't see, and we've also bought that bull for our operation. So I think it's a mix. Depending, like Lorenzo said, if you're on a budget, you're gonna wait till sales starts and kind of know what bulls that you might be interested in, which ones won't work. So I mean, it's just kind of a different realm for different strokes for different folks. That type.
Yeah, I think with technology the way it is today, with the pre-videos that we all do and the catalogs with all the information and stuff like that, especially the purebred guys are studying it really hard. But during COVID, I remember at our March sale, it was a year that everything shut down and we sold over half the lots on the internet. And I think from that point on, it seemed like in 2020 is when people really, were forced to use the internet to buy lots and stuff like that. And I think it's really changed the game of being able to sit anywhere in the United States and buy cattle. And there's usually trucking going all directions to help you get them back. So I think that kind of forced, I think it was always coming, but I think, 2020 and COVID was kind of a benefit to that as far as the selling side of it, to have people feel comfortable about buying cattle on the internet. I can't think of anybody that I've sold cattle to on the internet that have got them home and said, "Hey, this just isn't what I thought it was." They're usually happier when they get them home than when they saw them on the internet.
Let's take a step back to the questions you often receive from breeders throughout the year or around sale time. What are some of the common questions breeders ask when looking for bulls? And how can those answers help other buyers make better selections?
I mean, from a seed stock standpoint, on the purebred side, most guys know if that bull's gentle when we get a phone call. I mean, everybody knows we get in the video. It's get a little different when you isolate some of these bulls by yourself. I mean, there's a lot of questions about that, especially if they're not there. Then we also get some questions on what is his mother like? What has she done? Can we see a picture of her to see her udder? Things like that. With digital beef and what we use today to register our calves, most of that can be done online, but not everybody has a picture and video of the bull's mother. So we've also, had questions, gone out to the pasture, got those pictures, buyers, solidify, what they're getting invested into.
No, that's exactly right. And then, as Lorenzo said earlier, the purebred guys are out there studying them harder than anybody for obvious reasons. But, it's kind of interesting when you really start going back on some of these and finding those cow families that are popping back up and so forth, where it'll give you a little bit more, confidence in buying that bull that cow's produced some other bulls in the past, or his grandmother was, or pace setter status of those females on the bottom side as well as the top side.
I mentioned this earlier, but again, answering it from a commercial perspective, I think those volume commercial type buyers really want to know about the program. When you're breeding your heifers, how long you're breeding for, those kinds of things, because that tells them really all they need to know about your genetics and whether it'll be a fit for them. And so, from a registered standpoint, the questions are often kind of different. One of the questions we get a lot now is how much the bulls are being fed. There's a lot of concern with bulls being overfed and the cost to the buyer on the other end of that. And, So we're trying hard to strike the balance between getting pretty enough to sell, but not too fat to hold up. So that'd be a concern that I get a lot of feed.
Yeah, I would think. I mean, most of the questions probably more about the program as a whole than an individual bull. How the program works, the feed efficiency test, the development programs. All that's kind of more questions I've had than a particular bull itself. Just more, how are the bulls raised? What's the culling criteria? How do you rank the bulls in the catalog? Stuff like that.
Being on the selling side of the bull buying process, what are some key insight buyers should focus on, need to be aware of, or might be overanalyzing?
I hear a lot of people that go out in the country and just buy a bull, and they come to find out that the guy didn't fertility test them, or it doesn't have trick paperwork with it, or they're not going to get a registration paper on it. I think it's obvious that when you go to one of our sales, it's kind of a professionally ran deal, and you're going to, we've done all the work before the sale, and we're going to do the work after the sale to, make sure you have all the paperwork with your bull and that the bull gets arrived safe and so forth. I think that's the value of going to one of these, professional bull sales is having all the work done for you before you get there.
Everybody here has touched on this, but you're buying from somebody who's doing all the right things. There are people selling unregistered bulls on the side, or they're registered as they sell them. Everybody here is registering all their calves. They're doing right by the association. They're doing right by the database. And touching on the trick thing, I think it's really in both parties' interest to trick test, and you can cut that corner too. Certain states, certain ages, those kinds of things. But you certainly don't want to sell somebody a bull with trick, and you don't want them to get it. So it's in everybody's interest to just spend that money. And it's kind of unfortunate because I really feel like the state should subsidize the trick testing, because they're eradicating trick on the back of the registered guys who have to trick test everything. But again, you don't want to be responsible for giving trick to somebody else's herd. And so it's in all of our interests. So again, if you're just buying a bull on the side or buying them out of the auction barn, you're not getting all the things that you should be getting from a service standpoint. And of course, you need to pay for that a little bit too. But you get what you pay for. It'd be the final analysis of that.
I think a few people kind of overanalyze too much and kind of get in their heads when they're trying to select their bulls. I mean, I've always thought about try to be progressive in our system, and don't be afraid to cut that old bull and go get you a new fresh bull and good, better genetics, bigger weaning weights. That can be more progressive. Don't hold yourself program back 5 years on production because you kind of overanalyzed the bull and kind of got scared and didn't really want to make the commitment and investment. Don't be afraid to jump out there and, keep being progressive, because as soon as you start being stagnant, there's going to be other programs that are going to kind of run past you, and then you're going to have to play catch up.
Okay. Is there anything else you think we need to tell our bull buyers they need to know before we end?
Well, I think right now with the cow herd where it's at, they really need to be thinking about using more Beefmaster bulls to create more females. They can not only put them in their herds, but there's going to be a very big market for it in the next couple of years for replacement females. So they're going to get more bang for their buck on the steers, and they're going to be able to keep all these good heifers. So as Lorenzo stated, get rid of the Angus and come buy some Beefmaster.
Yeah, even if you're not going to keep the heifer for yourself, there's a huge replacement market coming, and I mean it's here now, and it's here to stay for a while. So I mean there's money on replacement females, and I mean that's the reason we're breeding these Beefmaster bulls is for the females. So let's raise them, and the replacement market's gonna be strong.
Well, these Beefmaster bulls, they've done pretty good in the drought season, hadn't they?
Oh yeah.
Something that I tell our buyers is that the amazing thing about a Beefmaster is they're made to use in the extremes. If you go far east or far west, that's when they do their best. So it's a unique product that we have in keeping those females. And I've never met a Beefmaster female in their herd that they didn't say was their best cow. So we've definitely got the product on the maternal side, and it's just getting people back to using these bulls and feeling comfortable with them again, and knowing that there's a market for the steers and to keep all those replacement females to make a better cow herd.
When you hear the word, buzzwords of today like sustainable, you can dig into some efficiency data that we've proven all four of us here have put together and used our genetics to prove for the Beefmaster breed. And I think Beefmasters, as from the efficiency standpoint, they're sustainable, and that's where they're going to sustain nation's cow herd and replacement females and go on and, produce superior beef to hit the food chain. So I think Beefmasters is a sustainable choice.
I agree with y'all. Totally. Buy a Beefmaster bull. The bull is the most critical investment for your ranch. Define your goals. Choose bulls with genetic potential to meet those goals and avoid bulls without documentation genetic information. Thank you, Derek, Lauren, Lorenzo, and Colson, for helping the bull buyer buy a better bull. We all know that purchasing a superior bull can enhance the value of your cow herd by improving the genetic makeup of your calf crop and the herd overall, as well as producing a higher quality beef product for consumers. To our Cattle Sense viewers, thank you for your interest in Cattle Sense. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We are building a large herd of viewers together.